All right.
She
Uh,
was a beauty known for miles around.
yeah.
Da-na-na-na.
So,
Graves of the Day is such a good song.
oh, absolutely. I think my favorite song though is "Tears I Shed."
That's a good one. All According to Plan is also pretty okay, but
Yes.
like every song is just sort of mid except for Graves of the Day, and that's just personal taste.
Well, I think it has to do with like the choreography because that one's the most animated, if that makes sense. It's the one that has the most like
Going on.
yeah. Everything else is the other ones are just like people like walking around, nothing like too entirely expressive in terms of body movement.
There
Uh, which
was
is
a
which is really good for contrasting the world of the living with the world of the dead. Uh,
Yeah, but even in the dead world, they still do a few songs that are just people standing in one place singing to themselves.
really, it's only one song. There's only two
No,
songs. There's only two songs that happen in the. There's only two songs that happen.
three.
Well,
They
the
they have
wedding
the
happens. The wedding happens in both.
well, the majority of the wedding song happens in the grave world, and
Okay.
then they rise. So they got Graves of the Day, the I Want song from
Yeah, Tears I Shed.
no, they do the one where it's like, oh, I what is he got that you don't got?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Really, that's what it's called.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. And then they got the marriage song, which is
yeah.
also pretty stiff.
But
Yeah, I was going there.
so I think the best place to start with is the animation, because
Let's start with like a little touch up on what the movie we're talking about is.
okay,
We're watching.
yes,
We
Corpse
watched
Bride.
Corpse Bride.
Yes, it's I believe it's was this or Coraline the first film from Studio Leica?
This is not a Leica film.
It's not. I could have swore it was made.
We've talked about this. Henry Selick was not involved. Henry Selick did not work on Corpse Bride.
Leica
This is
originally opened in 2005 and worked on their first feature film, Corpse Bride.
Really? Okay, then they were involved somehow, but
Yeah,
this is not a Henry Selick film. This is a
yeah,
Tim
no,
Burton
it's a Tim Burton film, but Studio Leica is the ones that made it. It's a Tim Burton film, but yeah, no, it's stop motion, which we're both big fans of stop motion when it's done phenomenal.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think this was, I think this was before 3D printing became like a thing. Which was it? Because they only recently, I think it was Kubo or Box Trolls that they started using 3D printing to speed up the
know.
process of making all the faces and stuff.
I would not know.
But yeah, the Corpse Bride is a wonderful movie. It's got very good like theme and contrast in terms of aesthetic. Like the world of
The premise, for those who haven't seen the movie, is that a young boy, Victor, is preparing for his wedding day when he's practicing his vows, and he ends up marrying a corpse in the forest.
yes, the titular Corpse Bride.
Yes.
So
And it's very sad and very romantic and also very fun.
oh yeah. So the world of the living is very dull in terms of like color palette. It's almost monochromatic.
It's very gray.
Yeah, the only vibrant colors that are seen are the red of the wine, and
Yep.
blues once Emily wakes up.
Yep. Emily brings a lot of blue with her,
Yeah,
design-wise.
which I think is a really good thing because blue like that particular type of blue shows up really well against like pale whites and grays and all that.
Yes.
And also it's dark enough that it shows up good against whites and bright enough that it shows up good against blacks, so that no matter where she's standing, there's a bit of contrast, which makes her pop out even more and makes her seem more ethereal as a result.
Half of my notes are all like neat little visual touches, like how Emily doesn't leave footprints in the snow.
Yeah, something I pointed out to you.
No, I noticed that when I was watching the film proper.
Well, yeah, but I also pointed it out last week when I watched it.
Gosh, I don't recall.
Yeah.
Lots of discussion on like the character designs.
She also doesn't slip on the ice like Victor does.
No, she's kind of graceful in a spooky way.
Oh yeah, it's like, and that really adds to the supernatural element of her existence.
There is one thing I want to touch on while we're here.
Yeah.
The film feels okay. So it's only about an hour 10 minutes as a movie, which not a long film. But it feels even shorter because it's so fast-paced.
Oh, yeah.
I think a bit to its own detriment.
I think the ending was kind of abrupt.
Yeah, they kind of go... one thing I find is that I think one of the issues that makes it feel very fast-paced is they do setup and payoff in the exact same scene. So you'll get a scene in like where Emily is confronted with something like, oh yeah, you're dead, you've already been parted, so he has to die. And then in that same scene they like, already have a solution.
Yeah, in the same scene she's like, no, I can't, and he's like, and then he comes in having heard the whole thing, is like, I'll do it for you.
They do that a bunch. They even do it at the finale where they're like, "Oh, we can't hurt him because we're in the land of the living."
And then he drinks the wine.
And then like, oh, within like 20 seconds of the that line being spoken.
Yeah, because it was
the payoff's already there.
Yeah, it was spoken after he had already drank it.
No, it was just before.
I thought it was right after.
It's just before,
okay.
Then he drinks it, and then he dies.
Oh, okay.
Because he doesn't realize the wine is poison, and he's just being smug.
Yeah, that always confused me as to why he drank it. Like...
He's toasting Emily, so he's being smug, but yeah, it is a little noticeable.
Yeah, I think it would have been, like, if they could somehow... Like... I think it would have been better if maybe, like, he brought his own... Because he had that, if he, like, brought his own cup to be smug about it, set it down, and then picked up the wrong one, I think that might be a little more reasonable. But it seems just way so... It seems out of character...
Yeah, no, he was always that smug.
I know, like, he's smug, but he was also calculating.
He's not very calculating, I'd argue, because, like, as we know, he didn't bother looking into the family's financial situation at all. Like, them being very broke was...
They did put on a very good act to convince others they weren't broke. That's what the...
That's fair.
Yeah.
But the Van Doors did know they were broke. That's why they were getting married in the first place. It's because they had the wealth and didn't care. They wanted the status that the Everglots possess.
Yeah, and the Everglots needed the money, but I think their financial woes were very much a hush-hush kind of thing. The only ones who would know about it is themselves and the Van Dorts. Van Dorts?
Yeah.
How's it pronounced? What is it?
I think they're helping new, and we're just sort of sticking around because they expected the payment at the end of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I don't... I mean, yes, it was a miscalculation on his part. He assumed that the Van Dorts were the ones marrying into money, when as opposed to the other way around. But in all fairness, the Everglotts did do their best to make sure nobody knew they were poor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that he's calculating. Lord Barkis he's definitely smooth. He knows how to handle a crowd, but calculating, I'd say he's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. He's very much a smug person who's sort of used to being rich.
Yeah. I do like him as a villain, though. He is a wonderful villain, especially his intro.
He's a bit one note, but he is very, very likable.
Yeah,
that guy.
You notice his intro, right? How he appears out of nowhere when the two guys walk by.
Yes. And then he introduces himself by pretending he's late to the wedding.
Yeah.
He's sort of, you can kind of tell that in a rewatch that he is sort of drifting about, and he has like no money, and then and that he hears the town crying, and he's like, here's my next mark.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first. It wouldn't be the first time he killed a bride.
Fair enough.
And speaking of, I do like the foreshadowing. It's a little bit more subtle in the Graves of the Day, when the shadow that they used to depict Emily's murderer
is Lord Barkis.
Well, it has his chin, but not his hair. So they did kind of hide it there, but not enough to make it unreasonable. Like, if you know what to look for, you can definitely tell it's supposed to be him. But then when he talks about how he was to be married and then tragedy struck, then it's like, oh yeah, it's definitely him. And I think that's a pretty decent foreshadowing, even if it is on the nose.
A little. I believe the movie is definitely for a younger audience.
Yeah, which is surprising how horrifying it is.
Oh yeah, it is fairly dark.
They have two on-screen deaths.
I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, one's the dude who coughs to death, and the other is
Mayhew.
Lord Barkis.
Mayhew and Barkis.
Yeah. To be fair, they're very PG deaths. Or G deaths. They just sort of die.
Yeah.
So Mayhew does get run over, so.
Yeah. And then we never see the parents again.
Yeah, I think the movie doesn't wrap up that well.
Yeah, I think it could have done well with one more scene, like the following day of Emily and, or not Emily, of Victoria and Victor having a wedding and showing the parents in the like sitting down, just to let you know what happened to them, make sure that they're okay or whatever. I think it would have done well with one more scene, one final wedding. But
yeah, the film's not bad, but it is definitely
abrupt.
I'd say it has some of the issues that Nightmare Before Christmas, the book, has. In which characters will come in and then vanish after like their role is fulfilled, and then they're never seen again.
Yeah.
Like as soon as they stop knowing what to do with the character, they just stop writing them. This is not so true in the movie, which everybody knows. It was a book first.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Oogie Boogie wasn't even from Halloween Town. He was from a different holiday called Bug Day, which is why he was ostracized and also genuinely malicious rather than just scarily mischievous like the others.
Yep.
It
does share a bit of that whole, as soon as like the characters stop being important or they stop.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of a later thing, aren't I? In the original, there wasn't even an Oogie Boogie, wasn't it?
There was not, as far as I
Yeah.
recall.
Sorry, I was thinking of the a different one that came out after the movie.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So it does have a bit of a sort of dropped character issue. We don't see whatever happens to the Everglots after they run screaming into their bedroom.
I mean, presumably they
came out fine.
Yeah, I'm assuming they came out fine. Because there's no one there to like kill them or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do think they could have done with one more wedding scene at the end.
Yeah, because the preacher, is he a deacon or a preacher?
I think he's a deacon.
Yeah, the deacon kind of vanishes too after the quiet down we're in a church scene.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, fair enough. But they do kind of drop like half of the cast, and then they're never brought up again or seen again.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It is weird on like a rewatch when you realize, wait a minute, this is the last we ever see of them.
Yeah.
Which I think contributes partially to the film's fast pace.
Yeah. So, speaking of characters, there's a lot of really good character establishing moments. For example, Victor's parents, so when the carriage, when Mayhew first gets in the carriage and pulls up to the front of their house, they all live in the town square, and so the carriage just does a 270-degree turn around the fountain to pick up Victor's parents, and then they just follow the path again across the street to the Everglots, which is completely excessive and says a lot about Victor's parents, specifically his mother, who is definitely the one who's more concerned about appearing their
appearing
yeah,
there well.
Yeah, it's all performative for the sake of the mother. It's obvious. The dad most likely would be willing to just walk across the street.
Yeah.
But
and then you got like the introduction to the Everglots where they're talking about how nouveau riche.
Yeah.
While looking at the carriage bouncing back and forth with the implication that they're doing
old.
it.
Yeah. The Everglots are definitely old money, and
well, the implication that I took from that is that with the carriage rocking back and forth, they think they're.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely a car
joke.
rocking back and forth joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the implication that that's why they're scoffing, like, these nouveau riche, no class.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think that the characters, like all the characters, have great establishing moments. Like Victor, when we see him meet Victoria for this first time, there's a lot of awkward body language, like awkward, nervous, and it makes it feel more like alive, if that makes sense, rather than, because it'd be so easy to just have them like standing around like and only doing like big sweeping movements whenever they need, but like the subtle kinds of things, like
the characters are all, especially Victor and Victoria, they're very close. They don't do big motions, and then when they get to the land of the dead, all the dead characters are doing big, wide, arms out motions, lots of movement.
Mm-hmm.
The human characters do very little movement outside of just sort of what is necessary and or facial stuff.
Yeah, but
they also bump into stuff a lot.
Oh yeah, and I think that it's really like, if you look at Victor's like he like fidgets around whenever he's talking to Victoria and trying to like avoid eye contact because he's awkward and doesn't really. This isn't his kind of setting, you know. He's definitely has second thoughts about the marriage coming up because he doesn't even know her. But then they have a chat and he realizes that she's pretty much in the same situation as he is, and like being forced into a marriage that neither of them are really prepared for, and they kind of have a tender moment over that, and it's very believable.
They are both very likable characters. The entire film is filled with likable characters, and I think that's its main strength.
Yeah.
Strong, likable characters.
Yeah. So, shifting to the Land of the Dead, the Land of the Dead is... It's a very much a contrasting style to the Land of the Living. The Land of the Living is very monochrome, but the Land of the Dead, very bright, very vibrant, and it is beautiful. There's always, even their shading is colored, like in the song Graves of the Day. There's like, the way they do lighting and shading is they have like a warm color for the lighting, and then a warm light for the lighting and a cool light for
background.
For the shade. Like they're shining two lights at opposite directions at the models. Like for the skeletons, like they'll have it be like one side, the side where the light is coming from, is like it's orange, whereas the other side, where all the shadows would be, it's like a purple, if that makes
green.
sense.
I think it's green.
Well, it shifts between colors in that particular scene, but that was the one that was most obvious for me. Is like basically their shadows are also lighting. In terms of like technical, how they pulled it off. They basically shown two different colored lights that are on opposite sides of the color wheel, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that really makes it pop even more.
Yeah, it's very poppy. It still definitely keeps a very... It's still muted, but it's not as muted as the Land of the Living.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, that's the style they're going for.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a contrast between the living and the dead, and it works really well. And they
do something similar in the Book of Life, where it's a lot of browns. They still got a lot of color, but when they get to the Land of the Dead, it's
like
even
neon.
More yeah, neon. They got like big party stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then they get to like the Land of the Forgotten, and it's like all black and white.
Yeah. And green.
And green, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that I think that the stylistic choices for Corpse Bride are definitely on point.
It's very much one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's all about the style.
Yeah. The style, the characters, the humor is... I like the humor. It's got some pretty quick-witted humor.
Yep.
Yeah. And the facial expressions are pretty good.
It's very well done overall when it comes to the animation.
Yeah, especially since it was before they could 3D print since it was before they could...
The models.
Yeah. Once 3D printing came out, they, like, that sped up the production of stop motion, like, so fast. Because effectively what they do now that they can 3D print the faces is they basically have the full animation set on a 3D modeling program, and they just 3D print each individual frame. So you can, like, see they can see how it will look when it happens nowadays, and that's a good thing. It means that they can put in a lot more detail and have a lot more high quality stuff. But also, it means that Corpse Bride, which was so expressive and smooth before that, it just speaks to the effort and the skill that was put into the Corpse Bride. That it's still it's on par with the stuff that they're doing now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Don't get me wrong, it still takes a lot of effort to, make 3D models and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to dismiss all the work they put into the modern stuff, because, Kubo and Bakusho, those are beautiful movies.
I want to segue into something, because
Yes?
I can't remember if it's this movie or if it's Night Before Christmas, in which somebody trashed the models they were using. So they had to start from scratch.
Oh, I want to say that was Nightmare Before Christmas.
I think that might have been it, yeah. Because I know one of these movies had to almost start from scratch because of the because older models got damaged.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. Which does go to show that it's like a very difficult animation style because of just how long it takes.
Yeah, it was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of pieces that were produced were destroyed.
Oof, hate that.
Yeah. Stop motion. I think stop motion really does need to be. It does need to get a lot more respect than it does, because it is very difficult and very skilled work to do, and that's why I do like Studio Leica.
Have you seen the movie that The Missing Link? They did a movie with The Missing Link. I can't remember what it's called at the moment.
Last Leica film I saw was
It is Missing Link, yeah. Right, so they did a movie called Missing Link with Hugh Jackman and Zach Galifianakis.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It is a very good movie. And one of the scenes of the movie includes an ice bridge, which falls apart. And that was, I watched a making of video, and they discussed just how difficult that one scene was.
I don't doubt it.
Because they had to make an ice bridge that you couldn't tell where it was going to start breaking.
Oh god, it needed seamless. It basically needed to be seamless.
Essentially, yes.
Oh god, that sounds very difficult.
It is very impressive.
Yeah. You know what else was impressive on the topic of Leica? We are big Leica fans, by the way. We love all of their movies. You know what? They got a world record for largest stop motion model for the giant skeleton in Kubo.
Yes, I saw that, and I'm like, somebody had to animate that.
Yeah, that thing is about as tall as a person.
It is very impressive. Thankfully, they don't have to do the torso, but it is still very tall.
Yeah. It is. I love Leica. Leica is fantastic. Yeah, it's like twice as tall as a person. And so yeah, Corpse Bride, definitely watch it.
If you haven't seen it yet, see it now.
Absolutely. What are you
it's
doing?
The season for it.
Yeah. Watch Nightmare Before Christmas. Watch Coraline. Watch Corpse Bride. Watch Paranorman. Like it's the season. You don't even need it to be this season. They're good movies on their own. Just watch them.
Yeah, Paranorman is great for November, for Christmas. Actually, it's probably more of a November film.
Actually,
because it takes place over, like, Thanksgiving. I think so. They have pilgrims in it.
well, no, because they have the Halloween.
Yeah, it's a Halloween film.
Yeah. Because
But it definitely feels like a film that you could do around November.
Yeah. To be fair, Nightmare Before Christmas is also a November film since, it's Christmas and Halloween, and November is right in the middle.
Yeah, it's also got a turkey in it somewhere, so... Oh, and it's an Easter film because they brought in the Easter Bunny.
Yeah. So, Corpse Bride, it's a fantastic movie. It's got great characters, great animation. It's a little bit abrupt, but it's still very good. One last thing I wanted to talk about was the arc words throughout the entire movie, according to plan.
Yes, everything's according to plan or not according to plan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of arc words, especially in the end when they're they're twisted, like when Barkus realizes that things didn't go quite according to plan.
Yes.
Well,
I'm gonna say this is our wrap up.
Yeah. I am going to rank it 9.5 poison chalices out of 10.
I'm gonna go the full 10 poison chalices.
Well,
I complained about its pacing, but I'm gonna be honest.
Well,
not so much an issue.
There's a reason why one of the chalices I give is only half full.
Oh. Well, this is our sign off. Watch our videos on D&D, Curse of Strahd, and
a homebrew that I run called World of Tapir.
Hey, you're supposed to be dead.
Hey, I'm in the land of the dead. It's all bright and colorful.
No.
Yeah. Let me. Yeah.
Death has parted us. No.
In the land of the dead.
Cut out here.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.